Each of you who are here tonight, we are pushing ever closer. I don't know why, it just seems like this thing keeps dropping down. I know I'm not getting taller. Just seems that this is getting lower. But we're moving forward in our workbook, page 91 and 92 tonight, as we are talking about what the Bible, especially because of the thrust of 2 Thessalonians, it deals with the theme of the second coming. And I don't know if I didn't write it down. I meant to write something down to have them put up on the screen to show you, because there are some hilarious things that people are saying. But nonetheless, first, any questions that you have from our last time together, first off? All right. We're just about finished with all of the bullets on page 91 under Roman numeral 3, the events surrounding the second coming of Jesus. I want to just make sure that we, remember I took these out of order, not necessarily the way Brother Winkler had them there, but just to remind ourselves of that first bullet that he says that we are confident, that we understand what the Bible teaches, that when Jesus comes again, his reign over his kingdom, that is the church, will end. And that implies for us that he's reigning over the church right now. And does anyone have any issues with that? No, and I'm not saying that in an accusatory or in a negative way, but if this is, we're here to study, and if you're, if in your mind you might, if you had a thought, for instance, I thought Jesus was going to reign forever. Never thought about the fact that his reign would end. That's a valid question. And yeah, with a hand up, Pat? Oh, okay. So the church is going to be delivered to the Father. And that's so Jesus tells the parable of the, I'm on page 91. Roman numeral 3, just to recap that. So those who are in the church will be delivered up, and the marriage will occur in heaven. The church is the betrothed, Jesus is the groom, and the wedding will happen. And as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, 22 through 24, then comes the end when he's put down all rule. He will then deliver the kingdom to the Father, and we don't know all that and it's not, like I said before, I'm not going to get in a whole lot of speculation other than the fact that Jesus stops reigning. And everyone is then in subjection to the Father. It's a shame that there are those individuals who are out here who, and I did a search today as I was continuing on the study, and I did a search, I did a Google search on second coming of Christ, and there are these individuals who take the attitude that, and one just comes out and says it, that, well, there are some people in some religious groups who believe there's going to be an actual second coming, but that's not what it's going to really occur. What's going to occur is it's going to be personal. And it's already happening right now. You just need to let Jesus come into once you allow him to come into your heart, you've experienced the second coming. And there are people who, because it's on the internet, they think it's got to be accurate because it's on the internet.
One person's viewpoint.
And Jerry said one person's viewpoint, and that is one thing that you have to understand. You don't know who's publishing what, and it could just be one person's viewpoint, no matter how slick the web page might look. I used to have to tell my students in high school, and they'd say, "Well, it's on the web." And before there was Google said it, it used to be, well, Alta Vista said it. Now, those of you who remember Alta Vista Web, were you one of my students out there? No, you didn't go to Colonel White, did you? And so. You got to fact check some of this stuff. So, all right, we're going to move to no question on that. On the top of page, so we're on 92 then, if we're all good with those. And let me make sure we understand this. The last bullet on the top of page 92 about judgment. The judgment is not when people are going to find out heaven or hell. There won't be a courtroom case. Perry Mason is not going to stand, won't be judged for the defense, any of that stuff. Won't be Ben Stone, get a little modern, I guess. I don't know if anybody remembers Judd for the Defense. Y'all don't remember watching Judd for the Defense? Huh? It's one of the many. So I'm infatuated with law shows. So back in the 60s, there was Judd, Judd, for the defense. He was a defense attorney. What? I don't worry about it. Don't even start. Don't even start. Yeah, Judd for the defense. I know. I'm surprised you haven't put it on your phone already. Let me go to YouTube. Judd for the defense. And I think Judd Hirsch was actually the actor who played this guy. Anyway, that's gone too far. But anyway, so the judgment, all that's going to happen at the judgment is Jesus is just simply going to formally announce what is already set. Those who are on the right enter into the joy of your Lord. Those who are on the left depart. No, you're right. It's not. Yeah. So for those who have already died, they know. Now, for those who are alive when the Lord returns, it's going to be 2 Thessalonians chapter 1. He will take vengeance on those who know not God, who've not obeyed the gospel. And it won't be any, do you want to try to get it right now? No. It'll just be the announcement, it'll be the pronouncement of depart. For one group, I never knew you. For another, those who knew the Lord but turned their back. So you have the Matthew 7, then you have the Luke 13, worded just a little bit differently. So the judgment scene is not necessarily where people are going to find out what their fate is. They'll know. Brother Norris.
Because he hasn't completely got rid of death yet. If you have a hard time understanding, he can still die. But when this judgment comes, that would be one of the first things he gets rid of is death.
Yeah. Well, and this is so the Norris question in terms of how it's going to occur, because time will end. All of these things, because we think sequentially, whether or not the Bible, is it going to be, well, this is going to happen first, and 20 seconds later, this, a minute later. We don't know in terms of, but because we've already learned he's going to end time, so all of this will just kind of like be in a panoramic kind of setting, and it's hard for us to grasp that because we are limited, and so right now we have to think about, all right, give me the sequence, and I know you are you think in this way as a chemist, you want to see sequential. Okay, so A, B, C, D. What's the order of events? The Bible hasn't told us what's going to be exactly first, other than the fact he's going to descend and with a shout, and we'll all know, everyone will know throughout the world the end at the same time. No matter what your time zone is. Oh, it's just the Hadean realm. Hades. That's what. So,
It always bothers me when I hear people talking about, well, they're in heaven, they're in heaven. It's like, well, last time I read my Bible, the judgment hasn't occurred, and
yeah.
God has not brought his people to the final resting place with him, the final, the place of, with God himself.
Right. Yeah.
In heaven.
So it's regrettable that so the King James translation talks about in Acts chapter 2, and it uses the word hell. That's a regrettable translation because the Greek word that appears there is the Greek term Hades. And it just should have been translated Hades. So hell is, so Hades is simply the place, so that is the place of disembodied spirits. And everybody goes there in Hades. In Hades, you have paradise, or Abraham's bosom. And then you have a place called torment. And the spirits are there awaiting the resurrection, because that's when spirits will be reunited with a body for eternity. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, every spirit.
I've always had a difficult time wrapping my head
Yeah.
around the idea of, but if you think, one of our old preacher used to think, he used to say, think of yourself in utter being completely alone, completely devoid of God, without anything other than the ability to think.
Yeah, well, so two things. One, So all spirits will be reunited with a body and then to the final. And so those who are here, heaven. Those who are here, it's the second. I'm going to use terms that people understand. Second death or hell, eternal separation from God.
Now, is that the Greek term, that hell there, the Greek term?
Would be Gehenna. Yeah, I was purposely not trying to. And so, and they will know throughout eternity, conscious pain. So all of the things that, everything that the Bible talks about, whatever torment is going here, it's nothing compared to an eternal separation from God. And that's why the Bible uses language like where there is no light, where there is no sun, where the worm never dieth. And so whatever pain you think you can have now that does not stop, it ain't nothing. Because those who will go here will experience, they think they have pain now, but to be separated from God for throughout eternity, never-ending separation from God. And I believe that there will be some kind of pain, because the Bible just clearly says so.
Just beyond our understanding to be.
Yeah, and I don't want, and
Spirit with pain is hard to imagine.
I don't want to even figure, I don't want to have a little taste of it. So I am going to accept what God says, and I don't want to try to be the one to say, can I have a little taste? No, because as we learn from what Luke 16, there is no, once you get there, there's no going back. No hope. That's it. Think about it. No hope.
Yeah, we used to have a preacher who used to say, it's hard for people to fathom the idea of a drop of water on my finger on my tongue. What's that going to do?
Right.
Other than offer a very small ray of hope.
Yeah.
That there's something better.
Right. And it's just, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize. Right. It's just like it's just like we talk about heaven. We try to explain to people worshiping God forever. So, and that's why you hear preachers saying, if you aren't excited about even worshiping God for this bit, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about worshiping Him forever, because He will cleanse the church, Ephesians 5. The Lord will cleanse the church before it is delivered to the Father. Anyone in the church that offends the Lord, you don't have to worry about, I gotta spend all eternity praising God. No, you don't. No, and you think about it, if you, I see your hands, Sister Mary, if you start with that attitude and you don't repent of that, you won't be going. Sister Mary?
This Hades thing had me confused.
Oh, okay.
It's always confusing. You're not talking about spiritual, physical bodies going to Hades?
No. Because the body's, where's the physical body at? In the grave, or if it's been cremated. So the physical body, Ecclesiastes 12 verse 7, returns to the dust from where it came. The spirit, all of us have a spirit from God.
So you're either going to paradise or Hades?
That's the only two, those are the only two places. That is correct.
Stay there until the day.
Yes, ma'am. No, you got it, Sister Mary. That's right. And that's why Jesus said in John 5, yeah, the Hadean realm, I don't know if Michael, I don't know if I gave I did have a chart, and I don't know if I gave it in any of these slides. There was a chart about this. If not, I'll make sure I have it next week. I actually have a chart of this. So without, let me try to give, well, look at this just. No, and this is why we have Bible study. So at death, this is okay. So what happens when we die? The Bible says death, let's look at James chapter, I think it's 2:26. This is okay. I don't mind deviating here for a minute. Is it 2:26, Pat? Yep, okay. So, right, got it. So death, here's what happens at death. So at death, the body goes to the ground or to the grave. Because death is the separation. Yep. So when death occurs, we have James 2:26, right, Pat? And the spirit returns to God. Now, God tells us what occurs, so it goes to the Hadean. I'm going to say Hades. Goes to Hades. And we know this, two reasons we know this for a fact. Luke 16, and then we're going to look at Jesus. And while Hades is not, as the Catholics say, Hades is not purgatory. There's no such thing in the Bible as purgatory. All Hades is the place where spirits go when they die, when death occurs. And so look at Luke 16, verse 19. So you have the rich man and you have the beggar Lazarus. They both die. Verse 22, so it was that the beggar died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried, and being in torments in Hades. King James regrettably says hell, but it's Hades. So they both died. Their spirits are in the realm of Hades. And in Hades, there are two parts. Torments and what else I'm going to say? Abraham's bosom. And then this is a spiritual location. This Hades is a spiritual place. It is not a physical place. Grave, physical place. So when people talk about I'm going to go to Forest Lawn and visit my loved one. You go to Forest Lawn and you'll visit the grave site. You'll visit the body maybe of the person who was interned there, if there was a physical body. But that's all that's all that you'll find at any of these places. They are still in existence, however, waiting for judgment. And the way you die is the way you'll be raised. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the spirit, yeah. I mean, not some kind of consciousness. Your spirit is alive, yes. So, Patrick's point, yeah, the spirit is fully functioning in the sense of, of consciousness, but as Solomon would say, not aware of anything going on in the world. So you are aware of where you are. You are aware of who you are and what you've done.
Luke even says in verse 23 that in Hades, he raised his eyes, being in torment, talking about
Oh, yeah.
rich man, and saw Abraham far away and Lazarus in his arms.
Yeah.
So there was an understanding through a spiritual vision, whatever that happens to be, that he could see Lazarus and Lazarus could see him, but there was
no way to leave where you are. Yeah. Right. Chasm. Yeah. Same thing. It's just simply trying to give you the understanding that you can't leave where you are. Then we could also put up there Ecclesiastes 12 verse 7. Death. When we died, the body returns to the earth from where it came. Spirit returns to God who gave it. Then in Acts chapter 2, interesting statement and actually before you get to Acts 2, remember the statement that Jesus made in Matthew 16 when he comes along the coast of Caesarea Philippi. He asked the apostles, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am, at verse 13. We get the confession by Peter that you are the Christ, Son of the living God. Then Jesus said, he says, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And then he says, and Hades will not prevail against what he's going to do. In essence, and that's an important statement. King James says, hell cannot prevail against Hades. In essence, he's saying death cannot stop the establishment of the church. The grave will not stop the building of the church. So they crucified Jesus, think they got him. Oh, Satan's happy. All right, he's dead now. He's already said death, in essence, Hades, because where's this? I won't be able to stay there. And then Luke records this in Acts chapter 2. That's why I want you to think about the Matthew 16. Now we go to Acts 2. And as we're not going to go through all of Peter's speech, but just start at verse 29. Men and brethren, let me speak freely to you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his tomb is with us to this day. So he says, David is dead, and we can go look at his gravesite and its sepulcher, and everything is still sealed. Therefore, being a prophet, speaking of David, and knowing that God had sworn with an oath to him that of the fruit of his body, according to the flesh. So he goes back and he thinks of the prophecy that Nathan gave in 2 Samuel chapter 7, 11 through 16. He would raise up the Christ to sit on his throne. He, foreseeing this, spoke concerning the resurrection of the Christ, that his soul, and you need to understand these words, that his soul was not left in Hades. So what's in Hades? The spirit or the soul. So the spirit or soul, either word here, goes to Hades. The body, the flesh goes in the ground. One second, see your hand. So, when our basic Bible study, in the beginning, what did God do with creating man? How did he create man? He took dust from the ground and formed man. Was man living at that point? He breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life, or he animated, gave man a soul, or a little part of him. We have a part of us that does not die. The flesh, the flesh will go back to the earth, but the spirit will return to God who gave it. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So Paul says that which we lost in Adam, we lost life, we regain access to life through Christ. If we go back to Genesis, we're not going to forget this because this has relevance to this. What was it that Adam and Eve partook of? What was it that Adam and Eve partook of in the Garden of Eden? Well, no. Let me rephrase this because I don't want that. What was it that Adam and Eve partook of in the Garden of Eden that God blocked? That he blocked. Oh, all right. Open up our Old Testament, Genesis, please. Nah, I can't believe y'all didn't get that one, man. Let's go back, because y'all guessing, too many guesses. Genesis chapter, let's see here, 2 spots. Let's just go to Genesis chapter 3. Verse 22. No, we're just going to read it. Then the Lord God said, so here, Adam and Eve, they've partaken of the forbidden fruit. And God says, behold, the man has become like one of us to know good and evil. And now lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. So we lost in Adam access to the tree of life. Adam and Eve could eat of the tree of life, and it allowed them to live forever because their physical body wasn't designed to live forever. But God was doing something which allowed it to be able to live forever by eating of the tree of life. He said, oh, you sinned, you've lost access, and now you are going to what? 3-letter word, die. Death became a reality. They got death in a double dose. Spiritual death, separation, physical death. Now, to your statement, what do we have access to now through Christ? We have access again to the tree of life. To be able to live throughout eternity, but not with this physical body, because when the resurrection occurs and before the ascension into heaven, we all shall be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. Whatever the glorious body is that Jesus now has. So Jesus, remember he said, do not touch me? Yeah. So his body got changed. Jesus made an interesting statement in the book of Luke. Flesh and bone cannot go where? To heaven. So the body that we are in is a body of flesh. It's from the earth. It cannot go to heaven. So God's going to do something. He's going to change it so that it'll be able to live in eternity. 1 John chapter 3, I think 3 through 8. Whatever the glorious body is that Jesus has, and none of us know, no matter how smart the person thinks he or she is, all we can go by what the Bible says. Whatever that body is that Jesus now has, we're going to have one like his. And we look forward to it. So that the spirit that you have, so Patrick, the consciousness, all of that's involved with your spirit. It wants to be housed, 2 Corinthians chapter 5. And God will give us a glorious body so that we can then live throughout eternity with him. And I think because they have a spirit, they're going to get some kind of body, but they're going to live separate from God, and they will be able to experience all that God has awaiting for them. All the torment, all the pain, all of the ugliness, the darkness, everything that the Bible describes that's there in hell, that's in the second death, they will experience forever. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Well, you remember Thomas said, remember John 20, until I see the nail prints, I won't believe. But he had not yet ascended to his Father. Yeah, so, because he ate food. Remember, he sat and he ate food with them. But he had not yet ascended. He was resurrected from the grave, his body. There was a bodily resurrection. Right. Right. So God put the spirit back into the body. And no, that's what he did. So the body was in the tomb. They had embalmed him. He was wrapped. They put pounds and pounds of spices. So when the Jews did embalming, they wrapped spices.
And when they said, when Jesus rose Lazarus, he said, Lazarus, come forth.
Yeah.
You'll see movie depictions of a mummy coming out of the grave.
Yeah.
The idea was that he came forth from the spirit back into his body, but then he had to go back in and be released. They had to release him from the grave because he found.
Yeah.
There's no way he could get rid of him.
Yeah. Well, there was a way. Jesus could have. Yeah. I mean.
My point was the whole thing that Lazarus come forth was not for him to walk out to him, but it was for his spirit to come back into his body.
There's no, he had been dead for a while because the sisters even said he stinketh. He had already started. He had been dead long enough that decomposition had already taken place. So God worked a miracle, which is what it is. Nora, shut your hand up. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so don't there. There are some things don't try to look for a natural explanation. We have to accept here's what God is going to do, because there is no natural explanation for what God is talking about doing. Putting the spirit back into a body, there is no natural explanation. It was supernatural to begin with. Now, God created the process of life so that it now happens. Procreation occurs naturally. God hasn't told man how the spirit gets in there, but he set that in motion so that it does happen at conception. Man can't figure it out.
Well, isn't it interesting that God chose with Lazarus and with Jesus raising from the dead that each one of the circumstances, the body was allowed to be spiritless for a long enough period of time where man had no control over the spirit over the body coming back to life.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it was a godly miracle for the spirit to come back into both Lazarus and into Jesus because their bodies passed their
Yeah.
prime.
Well, yeah, I mean, in any of the events, in any of the I don't want to use the word resurrection at this point. In any of the miracles where the dead was raised, Jairus' daughter, was dead, and Jesus spoke and said, child's awake, it's okay. When Paul raised those that were dead, Peter, no one questioned the fact that these people were dead. They knew they were dead. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the folks knew that each of those individuals were dead. No one questioned, whether or not they were dead. Let's get back to Acts 2. As I said, so you circle soul, verse 31. His soul was not left in Hades because death had occurred. Jesus had been killed. Romans knew he was dead. Jews knew he was dead. They had buried him and all of that. Nor did his flesh see corruption. This is your point, Pat. He was not in the grave long enough for the body to start breaking down. Fulfillment of the tomb, fulfillment of prophecy. He said that just as Jonah was in the belly of the great fish 3 days, 3 nights, so the Son of Man will be in the heart of the earth. And so this Jesus God has raised up, of which we are all witnesses. So the whole point that I want you to get there is that's what happens here, and this is what we can look forward to. No matter how we die, when we die, no matter how long it takes for the Lord to return, So all we have to go by here is what the Bible tells us. And it is useless for us to get into vain speculation about, well, what's going on down here? Can I communicate? Can they talk to me? No. There is nothing, there's none of that going on. Once this, I saw your hand back there, Brother Crane. Once this occurs, the only time what we need to be concerned about is while we are alive, what we can do while we're alive. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, he was there because he chose not to obey God while he had life. And then he wanted to become evangelistic. And that was too late to become evangelistic. You know, the evangelism has to be done now. And that's what he's told. He said, look, he said, your brothers, they have Moses. They better listen to him now. So, all right. Didn't mind answering those questions. So, Lord willing, next week then, Roman numeral 4, the 8 admonitions that he gives us in light of the second coming. Because we know the Lord's going to come, what are we to do? And we'll look at those admonitions that he sets forth. So, good thoughts, good questions. I don't mind asking those. And if we didn't properly address it, let me know, and we'll strive to make that correction. Just so we can make sure we're out of here on time. If you saw on the slide, we're happy to announce for those who do not